This is a spot which normally has a large group of 2 species of marsh orchids I come to every year, and they've raked a load of weed out of the pond. Nothing wrong with that, except it's bad enough if they just dump it on the side like that anyway, but they've dumped it right on a patch where there's normally a couple of dozen orchids which will not survive underneath all this lot. And around this pond, that's actually the largest congregation of orchids right there, and it's the only spot where they've done this dumping, and they've chosen precisely the worst place possible to dump the weed that they've trawled out. And great crested newts were breeding in this pond. They got a bit shallow. They don't like it shallow for some reason. You have to ask them, and they tend to live in the middle of ponds unless it's raining or at night, and they come to the edges. But it got shallow, and eventually they moved to a nearby pond that had a bit more water. Ever since they did that, I've been waiting to see if they reappear in this pond. But to know for sure, I'd have to come here in the dead of night when they'd be at the edges and can be seen easily with a torch, because they'll be in the middle the rest of the time. Or I'd have to come here when it's pouring with rain, or wait until later in the year, because if they're in here and they're breeding, you can quite easily see the huge larvae. Once they're big enough, they cruise around mid-water in full view, and they're normally about 2.5 inches long at that point. So we'll wait and see later in the year if they've returned, because the water levels have risen on this. Although I told them to raise the water levels and dig the ponds out about 6 years ago. I gave them some free expert advice they then didn't do anything with until recently. And some heavy rainy springs have helped top the pond up. So we'll see later in the year if the Trichuras cristatus have come back to this pond. I hope so.